All right, guys, now we're gonna move on to our last concept of this camp, which is so crazy to think about, but it's something called a for loop. Now, you guys might already be guessing what it means just from the name loop, but you're probably right. A for loop repeats a set of code a certain number of times. Now, let's say, do you guys remember my introduction problem from last live session for variables? Remember our friend Ben who wants to introduce himself 5 times? Well, let's say he's decided he's going to stick with Ben, but he knows that he wants to introduce himself as Ben to 5 people. Well, instead of copy and pasting, we can use a for loop. The way we write a for loop in Python is by writing the word for, all lowercase of course, and then I. Now, I is actually special because it's also a variable, but we usually just call it I. We can call it whatever. We could also call it number, but I prefer using I. So we can say for I in range, and then parentheses right after range, just like you would add parentheses right after a print statement. But inside those parentheses, you're going to have an integer. Not a float, not a string, an integer. So let's do 5 for our good friend Ben. And then we also need to add a colon, like we added up here for our if statements. We also need a colon, and we also need the same indentation. So when we click enter, it automatically adds an indentation for us. For the love of God, guys, please keep this indentation there. It's super, super important. You've got to tell the computer how to run. But inside that for loop, we're going to print, hi, my name is Ben. Capital B. But hi, my name is Ben. And now if we run this, we're going to get hi, my name is Ben 5 times. And we don't have to copy and paste it every time and fix our mistakes. Yay! And we could also do for I in range 10. Not sure what happened there, but yes, for I in range 10, that works too. We can print out hi, my name is Ben 10 times. We could also print it out 100 times. It'll be significantly longer, but you know. I don't recommend trying this on your computer, but I've had some students in the past try to see how many times they could run a for loop without their computer crashing and burning. I think the most I've heard a student get to was like 1,000 and something times. But please try this at your own risk. If you have an older computer, it could crash it, and that's not good for anyone. All right. Now, you guys remember I mentioned something about that I, right? Well, let's talk a little more about it. Let's take away this print statement that says, hi, my name is Ben. And instead, we can print I over here. Now, when I run this, you guys are going to notice something peculiar. Instead of going all the way up to 5, like you would if you were a human being, remember, humans count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the computer counts from 0 to 4, which seems kind of strange at first, but a lot of different things in Python start counting at 0 and then go to 4. But yeah, this variable can also be changed in name. As long as you keep the name consistent, it'll start counting at that same number and stop counting at that same number. Now, let's say we wanted to get a little funky with it and test out an if statement inside a loop. Let's say we had example num, and we set that equal to 3. Now, let's say we wanted this code to run 5 times, but we wanted to say if example num is less than 5, we want to print it's smaller with 3 exclamation points for fun, because why not? Well, now if we run it, we're going to see that it prints out all 5 times because example num is 3 and it doesn't change. But if we did variable math inside this loop, we can either do it inside or outside this if statement. But if we did it inside, so example num plus equals 5, we would get it smaller only 1 time because, well, we start with 3 and then we add 5 to it and then it becomes 8. Well, let's try that with 1 instead as well. Now we get it twice because example num starts at 3, so 3 is less than 5 for the first run. So it'll print it smaller and then increment example num. And then it'll do that same thing for the second time because example num is 4. But when example num gets to 5, that's when this condition doesn't run at all, unless we had an equal to over here where it would run 3 times. I know this last example was a little more of a review than anything, but I think that's going to be really helpful for your final project. But yeah, thank you guys so much for learning Python with us.